Okay, here's the situation. I have literally every book. Every book that has ever been printed, I have to review tonight. It is 9 o'clock almost. I usually go to bed at like 11, 11:30. So I don't have time for this shit. What I'm doing right now, I don't have time for it. I don't even have time to turn off the damn iPad. I'm not even going to take that time. Let's go ahead and just get right into this shit. It's ridiculous, man. All right, so first thing we're talking about tonight is going to be Wonder Woman Tasmanian Devil #1. And then we're talking Lobo Roadrunner #1. I wish these were ongoing series. And we're talking Super Sons #5. Trinity #10. Darth Vader #2. Darth Maul #4. Silver Surfer #12. Bombshells #29. Steve Rogers, Captain America #18. Black Hammer #10. Batwoman #4. We're still not done. Aquaman #25. Batman #25. And then Volume 1 of Tom King's The Vision. We got some shit to get done tonight. So, for those watching live, strap in. For those watching after the fact, I'm sorry if there aren't timestamps yet. That takes some time to do, and I'm not sure when this show's going to be over. I am not going to be surprised if this ends up being a 3-hour video, because I don't want to like do quick reviews. If I don't have anything to say about a book, I'll be quick, but I got stuff to say about most of these. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out. Wonder Woman Tasmanian Devil #1. This is fun. This is enjoyable. This is the perfect blend of DC story, Looney Tunes story for me, wherein this is legit a Wonder Woman story. You know, Taz is kind of silly, kind of goofy, but this more or less fits a typical Wonder Woman stories. And then it's like, I mean, I'm just kind of happy that, and this is going to sound weird, so I'm talking about a Looney Tunes DC crossover that's supposed to be kind of kid-friendly. I'm kind of happy we got bondage imagery related to Wonder Woman in this book. We just don't get enough of that in general. And they throw it in here. It is a very big, get it kind of wink. Speaking of winks, I got something in my eye. So if I start crying later, it may be because of the books, but it also may be because I have something in my eye. So anyway, Taz in this is a monster that is in the labyrinth. He's not the Minotaur. He's a monster in the labyrinth. And the labyrinth is not just on the island of Crete. The labyrinth is apparently connected to like every place in the world you can find a doorway to the labyrinth. It doesn't matter if you're in Crete or if you're in fucking Mexico City. There's always some way to get into the labyrinth, and there's an entrance to the labyrinth on Themyscira. So Wonder Woman, as a teenager, to prove her Amazonianness, enters the labyrinth to go find a guardian of the labyrinth and take back a souvenir. And so she finds Taz. She finds Taz in the labyrinth, and he threatens to eat her. And her response is, really now, I'm surprised you'd even bother to cook me. And this really throws him off because she can understand him. But this is fun because it actually gets to one of Wonder Woman's superpowers, which is talking to animals. That's neat. That's clever. That's fun. So she tricks him to get away, or that was her plan, it seemed, by convincing him that he shouldn't bother cooking her because she can make him a ton of fantastic meals. Instead, he'd never have to even hunt them. She can go get them herself and cook them for him. Very misogynistic thing, certainly for Wonder Woman to offer to do. But you know what? I like that kind of plays with some of the fact that Looney Tunes, no matter how much you love Looney Tunes, it's hard not to just go, okay, it was written in the 30s, 40s, and 50s by white guys. That's just what Looney Tunes was. So some of the humor, some of the stuff is to their sensibilities, and it doesn't really hold up. And there's some of it doesn't hold up. Bugs Bunny slapping on blackface was hilarious to them. And to them, they're referencing Al Jolson, but nowadays, that's disgusting. But this I don't know. I feel at least that's kind of playing with that perception that Taz and Pepe Le Pew were kind of sexist characters, where they're just guys who would, drop dead at the side of a woman and all that stuff. And so I don't know. I feel like on some level, this is playing with that perception of Taz, with her trying to trick him like that. But he catches on to her and realizes she's trying to escape. So he throws a tantrum. And so she has to resort to another trick, which is to use the harp and sing a song to lure him to sleep. And after she gets him to sleep, she cuts off one of his hair horns and returns to Themyscira. But then we go to the modern day, where Wonder Woman is returning to Themyscira. So this cannot take place in the Greg Rucka run, even though that's the costume she's wearing. She returns to Themyscira and is greeted by her mother and the Amazons for a big celebration. But then Circe shows up and turns them all to stone. So she has to return to the labyrinth in order to get the amulet from the Minotaur, because apparently that's the only thing that can reverse it. And in doing so, along the way, she decides to seek out Taz and reunite with him to get help to find the Minotaur, because otherwise she could be lost for years. And then there's this really, really cool bit where Diana puts the lasso on Taz, or he holds the lasso rather, and he says, "Diana, Taz not mad, you tricked I. Taz sad, you took music away." And that is the most Wonder Woman thing ever. That is just so fundamentally Wonder Woman, that she teams up with this guy, and it seems like it's all just for, his selfishness or whatever. And she's got, her own preconceived notions about him. And they just, it just all melts away and it becomes so sweet. And I love that. That's a really sweet scene, and that was a lot of fun. So together, Diana and Taz take down the Minotaur, get his amulet, and go and defeat Circe, which is cool. And in exchange, Diana promised Taz a feast unlike anything he could ever imagine, and he eats it all in like 2 seconds and says, "Pretty good, but what are you guys going to eat?" That was really fun. This is a very, very Wonder Woman-esque story, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. That was a fun idea. Woo! And then we get the backup, which this and the Lobo one do the same thing. And I really like these two for this. Because last week's didn't have that at all. The Martian Manhunter was like a completely different, unrelated story that was just okay-ish. And then the Bugs Bunny Superman one, that was still weird. Bugs Bunny Legion of Superheroes, that was just bizarre. The way it just repeated the story. Anyway. So this takes place immediately after Taz is eaten. And so Wonder Woman decides to sing him a song about the Trojan War. And it's just a bunch of the Looney Tunes characters are put in to the scenarios, but it's also kind of like jumping back and forth, because at times it's clearly Taz telling the story as he's dreaming or whatever. But then there's some fun stuff, like, who's Odysseus? Oh, Wile E. Coyote, of course. That's fun. That's just enjoyable. Foghorn Leghorn's Agamemnon. I like it. That's enjoyable to me. There's a Trump joke. I was not expecting that. There's actually a couple jokes at Republicans' expense here. Taz says, "So what? They can't ever get past Daddy's wall." And then Elmer Fudd, wearing a red hat, says, "It's true. I build bigly, then stiff my contractors. King Pawai of Troy keeps out all malefactors." It was pretty good. And then there was like this image on the Trojan battlefield of a cake that says "Mission accomplished," and it's like crossed out and says "almost there." That was pretty good. It's pretty harsh. I'd never expected to see Looney Tunes critique the Republican administration, but a Republican establishment. But whatever, you got both of them real quick, both on one open up page. And then this is just fun. Like, Taz decides that he doesn't want to be on the losing side of the story, so he changes the story and tears up the Trojan horse and bites Yosemite Achilles on the ankle. And then we get this last little panel where Wonder Woman was Helen of Troy. And so Taz says, "Happy endings are nice, and we sure kick some rectal." And then Diana says, "Yeah, but I was too passive. F from Professor Bechtel." And that's just clever. Again, that kind of goes to the Looney Tunes. How do I say this? The Looney Tunes playing around with the idea of what is acceptable, what is correct, because she has kind of the role of a woman in a lot of those old cartoons, where she's just there to like facilitate the action. And initially, I didn't even realize this was supposed to be Diana filling that role. But it becomes more apparent as it goes along. And I don't know, it's just kind of a funny little, she wasn't important to this part of the story at all. But, there's some winks and some nods, so that was fun. Anyway, I don't know, guys. I'm enjoying these. These are just exactly what I'd hope they'd be in interesting way. They're fun. They're tongue-in-cheek. They're just they're heartfelt and enjoyable, and you can tell that they actually are just having some fun. Still say Dr. Manhattan fucked shit up. Dr. Manhattan fucked shit up. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Lobo the Roadrunner #1. Again, would kill for these to be monthly. All right, so we get the origin of the Coyote in the DC universe. Again, Dr. Manhattan fucked shit up. He really fucked shit up. So basically, the Coyote was a coyote, and then he got captured by some scientists fucking around with alien technology, like a bunch of the Looney Tunes characters. We get this how Roadrunner gets an origin. We also get Sylvester and Bugs, and I'm not sure who all of these are. There's a lizard. Is there a Looney Tunes character that's a lizard that I'm just not thinking of? Not Cecil the turtle, because it's clearly not a turtle. Huh. I don't know. Anyway. So, yeah, they experimented on these animals and turned them into, mutants, and the coyote picked his cage lock with a hairpin and mixed some chemicals to create nitroglycerin, free all the other animals, and stage a jailbreak. And that is the coyote's untold origin. he was then hungry and he saw the Roadrunner and started chasing him. And then we get this montage of 7 decades of the Coyote failing spectacularly. Let's see here. We got free Batman mask with purchase of McBirdseed combo meal. Free Swedish meatballs. And then free birdseed and healthcare in 2009. Woo! Political. And then we get Lobo, who's out in the galaxy, and he's been paid to assassinate someone. We don't know who yet. While Coyote is captured by the U.S. military, but he's cool with it because he gets to eat. But then Sam Sheepdog shows up and calls him Ralph because that's hilarious, and talks to him and yada, 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 convinces him to escape and hire Lobo the bounty hunter to go after the Roadrunner. So Coyote does, and Lobo suggests, okay, you do that. You go, I'll go do that. You go kill the guy that I was paid to kill, and I'll collect both fees. Deal? And so Coyote goes to do it. And then wackiness ensues with Lobo and the Roadrunner. And then we revealed who Lobo was supposed to kill that now Coyote's going after. Kilowog. Yay. Just yay. So Lobo keeps trying to go after the Roadrunner, and it is failing spectacularly. Lobo, Bassicus vulgaris. Roadrunner, Fragus impossibilitas. So yeah, Lobo keeps failing spectacularly. And then we find out that the guy who did the alien experiments with the animals to create the Looney Tunes characters has been alive all this time and been monitoring the Coyote and the Roadrunner and their never-ending quest for, destroying each other. But Coyote decides, no, I'm done with it. I'm not doing this. But then, just as he's about to retire, about to quit, the Roadrunner runs past him, knocks him off his feet, says, beep, beep. And Coyote goes, Reza, frackin' snout, son of a. And then Coyote, kleptomanicus incarvoluis. Now I do poll party with Cap, and we have cover, like best cover. I'm going to see if I can talk him into best panel. Because if there was a single panel that I needed more in my life than this, I have no idea what it was. Oh, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's everything I ever wanted. Thank you for that. Wile E. Coyote is one of my favorite Looney Tunes characters, and seeing him with the Green Lantern ring, that is perfect. And then this backup as well ends right after the story ended. Lobo said, okay, screw it, I'm going to Las Vegas, get some poontang. And yeah, it's just silliness. So like Bugs Bunny shows up and says, hey, you got 8 more pages. You're contractually obligated to write 8 more pages. And you also have to actually try to kill the Roadrunner in new and clever ways. You can't just rip off things the Coyote did. So Lobo keeps trying to kill the Roadrunner, and it gets pretty gruesome. Pretty gruesome, pretty silly, pretty ridiculous, and it just doesn't. But then, like, off page, he actually captures the Roadrunner and ties it to a stake with a bunch of explosives and blows it up, and then Bugs Bunny shows back up, and he goes, here's a summons to appear in court. And Lobo's like, oh no, I was contracted to kill that bird, and now that I've done it, I'm going home. And Bugs says, correction, Doc. You were supposed to attempt to kill the Roadrunner, not actually do it. Now Warner Bros. Has no choice but to sue you for wanton destruction of their intellectual property. And then Lobo's yelling and screaming. Roadrunner's like, shh, don't tell him I'm still alive. You know, it's funny. We get like this whole explanation for the Coyote's background and why he's a genius. Oh, by the way, they referenced my favorite Coyote thing, which is the time he actually talked in the Bugs Bunny fight. People don't message me on Skype when I'm doing recordings. Where's it at? Damn it. I am Wile Coyote. Super genius. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, so like we get this whole origin for why Coyote is the way he is, but we get like no context for why the Roadrunner never dies and just always manages to escape like destruction. And Philip Kelton says, wouldn't the Roadrunner be one with the Speed Force? I mean, I would have loved an explanation like that. That would have been amazing if it just went, oh, you see, it's because he has the Speed Force that he was able to manage all this, blah, blah, blah. Like, that'd be great. But we don't get that. We don't get any explanation in regards to the Roadrunner. So I was a little disappointed by that. Still really fun issue. Seeing Lobo just tried to kill the Roadrunner is hilarious because he's failing just as spectacularly as Wiley always has, and he's breaking the fourth wall. But like, I love this. He gets an A bomb somehow. And he's gonna shoot it at the Roadrunner with a slingshot. Slingshot breaks. He's like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" Nuclear explosion. Anyway, fun time. I'm just enjoying these. These are great. Can't wait for the Elmer Fudd Batman one. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Super Sons number 5. Man, this is so enjoyable. So Damien and John are both actively complaining about the fact that they've been grounded. And so John kind of runs away from home and goes to talk to Damien about his troubles. But Damien, being the jerk that he is, just, pushes John's buttons to get him into a fight. And then they fight in the Batcave until Alfred interrupts them. And then Batman and Superman show up and they talk out the differences and say, okay, fine. You, John, we're going to let you use your powers, but you can only use them with Damien around. And you two can't go out alone. You have to go out together. So that's really fun. That's how it concludes, is them now on a little team of their own. There's a lot of just fun, neat stuff in this. Like, Alfred has this great line. I cannot believe my life has come to a place where I have to say this. Please step out of the dinosaur's buttocks. Like, okay, so say we make a poll on the internet and like make it so the guy who's playing Alfred now, Jeremy Irons, I think, has to say that line. Am I alone in thinking we could get that to be a thing? Just a poll with like millions of people saying, yes, Jeremy Irons must say this in the Batman. It has to happen. Because I would find that enjoyable. And then there's just fun dialogue here where, like, that was before Damien's dad and I discovered just how much we could relate to each other. Like looking after children who just tried to pummel each other. Damien. And I'm sure you weren't the least bit curious to see who would win. Clark. Who do you think would win if we fought? Me. But I'm stronger and I can fly. Me. uh, that's great. It's just fun. I love that Superman and Batman bicker about who would win in a fight, Superman or Batman. That is actually one of my favorite stories back in the old 52 with the World's Finest book. There's like a whole issue just about like how a fight with Batman and Superman would go down. And it's just two kids talking at the end about how it would happen. And then, like, camera pans up and we just see Batman and Superman sitting there, and it's like, can you believe those kids act like we'd actually fight? Yeah. Though it was surprising how much that kid knew about what I would do. Oh, what fun, man. What fun. Also, DC is really, really hyping up this Aquaman story, guys. Like, I've got the issue, but they're putting it in like 4 or 5 of my books, previewing it. So, I guess wait till I get to that book to decide whether or not you're going to pick it up. Anyway, just, you know, it's just cool to see. This just continues to be really fun. I'm not sure how I feel about the art here. It is maybe a little like cartoonish for me. Like, I don't know, that panel of Damien looks kind of ridiculous, and there's just some stuff where I don't think that it really looks great. We get a tribute to Jim Lee and Hush. That was kind of cool. But I don't know. At times it's really neat. Like, where's the panel of Damien that I loved? Because one of my favorite things is 90s Batman, and specifically Grant Morrison 90s Batman, and specifically Justice League 90s Batman. And there's just like this one, yeah, here it is, this panel. It's so a reference to an issue of Grant Morrison's Batman. And I'm so in love with this. This is perfect. There's this really famous panel of like Batman sneaking up on Superman and the Justice League, and Superman goes, "How didn't I hear your heartbeat?" And Batman just like, "The device worked." I need that Batman on film, please. But yeah, just like this is just fun. It's got a lot of reverential art, and I mean, I'm a bit of a sucker for fights in the Batcave. I'm going to read Red Letter and Tilly's comment that is so painful, it actually distracted me from what I was talking about. Do Aquaman, Ian. What are you waiting for? I hope you're proud. Anyway, so, I don't know. There's some fun stuff. I kind of like one character trait we're developing for John, which is he doesn't like cities. He is very much a country boy. And although the act of moving is it's more subtextual than just I don't like cities, just the fact that he does not want to move to a city is really endearing to the character. This is a scene I'm not quite sure about. There's a lot going on this 2-page spread, and it does not feel like it is done for artistic purposes. It feels like it's done to save pages, which, you know, fair enough. But at the same time, it's just a lot of dialogue. Like, this is a weird trick where they're doing like the slightly transparent or like ghosted versions of the characters as they walk through the cave. This is a weird trick to use for just a conversation. Like, it's not like it's a big, you know, epic cool fight move or a jump off a building or something. It's just like little conversation they're having. Damien and John fighting is cool, though maybe completely unrealistic because Damien doesn't have red solar lamps, kryptonite, or anything, yet he's able to like actively hold his own in a fight with John. That's a bit on the unbelievable side, at least given the way the action is shown. John has clearly got the upper hand, but Damien is doing all right. So, I don't know. Enjoying it. Fun. Super Sons is just every time I'm reading it, I'm smiling. I just got a big grin on my face as I read this book. So, it's just, this is the DC universe that we were missing. This is not something I feel we would have got in New 52. And it is so damn charming here that I'm just in love with it. All right. Let's continue on to Trinity, number 10. Are you ready for a book of just absolute beauty from page 1? Sorry. Just page 1, it looks gorgeous. Look at this, 4 characters crowded on screen, almost like full body shots for all of them, just slightly blocking each other, and it just looks great. Oh, all the stuff behind him. Yeah, Manapul's on this issue, and you can tell, dude, he pours so much into everything. Everything. Oh, it's gorgeous. Just like, even the way he integrated the title of the story into the art for the page. Like, I don't know what this is going to be when he gets to trade. What's that going to look like? I don't know. Not as good. So yeah, the Justice League are varying levels of possessed. And that's just, you know, kind of interesting, kind of neat. They're all various levels of possessed by this kind of alien Starro-like thing. But as Batman and Flash try to get this thing off Aquaman, as he's obviously holding back, Aquaman says, "Stop, we must help them." And, you know, there's just like a ticking clock associated with the, there's this ticking clock of the space station about to crash into the Earth. And the threat of these things getting to Earth is, you know, looks like complete extinction. So Superman and Wonder Woman are having to deal with that. And Flash is trying to hold off Aquaman while Batman is trying to save Cyborg's life because he's, you know, heavily damaged. But it's so pretty. Like, this is a weird spread to talk about because this looks amazing. This is kind of like one of the cool things about Batman in the Justice League is he is not capable of dealing with this just on his own without any preparation whatsoever. And just everything is going wrong for him left and right now. And so this is just really, really neat writing, and it says it all without any dialogue and in just the image. But as you can see, there's dialogue. And it's just Batman saying, "Tentacles, I hate tentacles." This is why Manapul is not a great writer. I do think that he is a much, much better writer when he is drawing. But this is a kind of moment where this doesn't need any dialogue. He could let the art speak for itself here. But I feel like occasionally he gets worried that people won't get it, or he's not just putting enough words in the book on the page. So he feels the need to just insert things. Like, honestly, putting that balloon there just kind of makes it ugly. Tentacles, I hate tentacles. It's just like, it's a dumb joke. That so doesn't need to be there. I really wish I could see this image without that word balloon. I think it would improve the page because, you know, it's like this really intense moment. We keep getting told that Cyborg's only got minutes left. The watchtower is crashing to the earth. Superman's trying to stop it. There's this alien being. I think it's a alien, not just a robot, but it's like cybernetic or something. It's telling them that if the watchtower crashes, everyone on Earth will be dead, but they just have to cut their losses and accept the loss of their friends. Red, I don't think it's just a robot. I think it is like a sentient living being. There's like all this intensity going on. Flash is in the middle of fighting Aquaman. Manapul really likes his diagonal panels. That's neat. Because Flash like sends Batman and Cyborg through a wall against Batman's wishes. And at the last possible second, Batman hands him something from his utility belt. So Batman's stuck here with Cyborg. There's like all this intensity, and he's just doing his best to get Cyborg to an escape pod. And then this shit happens. So Batman is really at his limits. Superman's trying to save the day without cracking the watchtower in half. And Batman, and then we get this reveal for Wonder Woman, wherein she goes to where on the aliens ship where the creatures were being held, and gets possessed. There's like a real sense of drama going on. Everyone's kind of at their limits. They're going to have to work as a team to get this done. But we insert a stupid joke. I don't know. I really feel like he just wasn't confident enough in his skill as a writer communicating everything visually, so he felt the need to put a joke in there or just add dialogue. And it's so not necessary. It's distracting. That's the problem. But man, just look at the detail in this. Okay, Wonder Woman walks into an alien room with a bunch of alien carcasses in it. All right, probably just vague details, a little bit here and there, maybe all one color. Nope. It is got immense detail, and showing the panel to the camera doesn't do it justice. For one panel, it has immense detail and different shades of this orange, this reddish brownish hue. It's gorgeous. And again, Manapul loves his fucking page spread. That's cool. That just looks awesome. She looks so powerful, but yet scary. Oof. And again, there's that Aquaman preview. I'm telling y'all. All right. Let's go ahead and move along to Star Wars Darth Vader number 2. Guys, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make a lick of sense. Like, you got clone troopers dealing with a mid-rim Jedi outpost archiving and removing all of the Jedi paraphernalia from it. But they're talking about the Jedi like they've been gone for years, or at least months, maybe weeks. It feels more like years, just the way they talk. But it's been like 10 minutes, right? Vader, number one, opens literally seconds after, or not seconds, opens really close to the end of Revenge of the Sith. They completely forget a scene, but they open right at the end of Revenge of the Sith for Darth Vader. No significant amount of time passes. Like, you can tell the scene with Palpatine talking about lightsabers and how they work is very much meant to take place minutes, maybe an hour after Vader is properly revived. So I guess the entirety of this book is taking place before the final scene with Vader inspecting the Death Star. Red, they forget the scene where Vader and the Emperor inspect the Death Star together. So, like, these clones are just, like, their conversations about the Jedi, just, it feels like it's been years. And, like, so much is happening. It's ridiculous. I've got to find this line. Take this seriously. Every mission is important. If Emperor Palpatine wants this done, then we get it done. We beat the Separatists. Great. You think they're the only enemies out there. No, I just don't think we'll be the ones fighting them. What do you mean? I heard they shut down the facilities on Kamino. They shut down the facilities like a day after the war was over? That's stupid. Yeah, I mean, I get that it's a few weeks later, but just the difference in time here is just weird. And then just the way they're talking. Yeah, like they shut down the operations on Kamino within, like, okay, war's over. Kamino shut down. What? Like, there was a whole thing I know in the old EU. There's a whole thing in the old EU about the Star Destroyer, or about why they quit using clones and went to normal soldiers. So Vader shows up in the ship that the Emperor left for him. And he just decides, fuck it, I'm going to kill all of these guys. I don't know why. Like, there's no real reason or pathos to it. He just decides he's going to kill everybody. He has the ability to just land. It's like clearly a decision that the writer is making for Vader to make. I just don't understand why he is making this decision. It seems so arbitrary and pointless. So yeah, he shows up and he just, like, kills the clones. And we're continuing this thing where Vader is... He's still very much Anakin Skywalker. He's fighting like Anakin Skywalker, which is run in and, you know, move around real quick, slaughter everybody down. And here he's just not used to how slow his armor and stuff makes him. So he is actually taking some hits from the clone troopers. Cool idea. I like that. He force grabs a lightsaber that's in the station, is able to take out most of the troopers. And then we find out his plan is to find a Jedi who is basically taken a vow to just only focus on the Force and not involve himself in Jedi matters. His plan is to go find one of these guys and kill him and take his lightsaber. That's the whole issue, really. It's there's this whole thing with a bomb and just apparently troopers started being idiots the second they were fighting for the Empire. Like they still had a little bit of their intelligence while they were killing the Jedi, but after that they apparently just instantly became idiots because some stormtroopers throw a grenade, Vader catches it with the Force, and then they sit there and have a conversation about why they're not shooting Darth Vader, who they think is a Jedi. They're sitting there having a conversation about why they're not shooting him, giving him enough time to Force choke them the fuck out. Yeah, I don't know. This is stupid. Like, this just... The first issue I thought was just whatever. This is actively dumb. Can I just get a Palpatine book? Can I just have, like, a day in the life of the Emperor book? Can that be a thing, please? Just see how he runs the Empire? Is that so much to ask for? Like, can we get a book that, like, ends with him going to the Death Star for, like, his weekly inspection, or maybe like we can just get that scene of those two guys he talks to on the Death Star too, something like that. All right. Yeah, stupid book. But I'll keep reading it. Anyway, let's continue on with Darth Maul number 4. Not stupid. Not great. Not stupid. So they've been shot down, and now they have to survive together with Maul, the Padawan, and the bounty hunters have to survive together in order to, save the world, or in order to get off the planet. They have to survive being hunted by all these rich people. So we get cool action scene, and Maul mulls over his thoughts on the Padawan, and she kind of gets into his head about why he hasn't killed her, or why he needs to make sure that no one leaves the planet alive. And then it ends with them squaring off so they can fight each other. Apparently. I doubt it. It's showing it on the cover for next time. I so doubt it. This is just like not something that's incredibly interesting. I don't know. I just keep enjoying it more for the references to, like, Clone Wars and other EU stuff, like Gracchus the Hutt was in this again, or at least his belly. Cad Bane was pretty cool here. Cad Bane was one of the neater characters, like really on the dark side of gray. Do I think Soule should be taken off the Star Wars books he's on? Yeah, because he's bad. Like, I just don't care, like, for how he is writing them. I thought Lando was great, but I don't know what the hell he's doing since. Should have just made Lando the ongoing. Vader's not good. Poe is boring. I think Soule's a good writer who just doesn't have a great voice for Star Wars. A space wizard did it, Ian. Hold on, can you use that argument in Star Wars? Yes, you can use a space wizard did it. I don't know. This is a book where I'm just more like, Oh, this is fun. This is neat. Yay, reference. This is more like a ooh, look at that. Isn't that cool? But otherwise, I'm kind of bored. This is... I don't have anything else to say, so I've got more books to go through. Silver Surfer, number 12. So I do the Pool Party show with Cap, and he keeps talking about this book. He's picked it like two times now out of the 3 or 4 episodes we've done, so that says a lot. And this is great. This really does feel like reading Mike Allred's Madman. Dan Slott's involved in this. It says storytellers Dan Slott and Michael Allred. But I'm assuming that Allred's got to be involved in the plotting or some way, shape, or form, or I don't know what. I have no idea what, like, who is doing what part, but I can tell Allred is not just drawing this; he is actively assisting in the story. And yeah, this is great. It's just like kind of kooky sci-fi weirdness dealing with a very, very human issue. So Dawn and Norrin, I can never remember his name. Dawn and Norrin are off on adventures together in space, apparently. I haven't been reading the book up till now, so that is definitely what is happening now. And they've been off for months at a time. And so they come back to Earth to find out that Dawn has a baby niece, but also her dad died while she was gone. And the last picture they have of him is him in hospital with the newborn baby. He got to be a grandfather for a little bit, is what they tell her. And also while she was gone, they didn't bury him. They cremated him and spread his ashes in the ocean without her because they didn't know if or when she was ever coming back. And so immediately we have a heartbreaking ass story. That is just tragic and sad. And I'm like, how are they going to turn this around? So she asks Norrin to take her to a planet called Euphoria, wherein it is impossible to feel bad on Euphoria. And a sentient husk of the planet kind of comes or shapeshifts into her father and interacts with her as if he is her father. And like it's supposed to be helping her with grieving. Also, female Pepe is there. Like, I'm not, not to distract from the plot synopsis, but I'm not wrong. That is totally female Pepe, right? Like, I need confirmation from people. That's female Pepe. Before I can continue, I need this in the comments. That is not female Pepe. That is totally female Pepe. I'm sad. That is totally female Pepe. Anyway. So they're like, she's, she seems happy and everything. We get this great panel where she is clearly grieving quite significantly, and this is more like a tragic, heartbreaking thing for her. This is an escape. And so Norrin wants her to start to get over it, and they spend 67 days on this planet just living there. And one night Dawn walks off to go talk to this female Pepe, Mama Hub. And the planet Euphoria wants to help her, wants to make her feel better, and wants to go after her and comfort her as her father. But Norrin doesn't want her to go. I can go to her, help her. Stop, I will not allow it. I can ease her pain. If you go to her now as Reg Greenwood, it could do irreparable harm. I give her comfort, false comfort, and I say no more. I am the sum total of this world, Surfer. Bar my way, and I shall simply manifest myself by her side. No. With my power cosmic, I shall bind your consciousness to this spot. Then I'll call out to her in his voice, Dawn, and I shall still every molecule, cease their vibration, and cancel sound itself. And then you just start getting empty word balloons as the Surfer and this manifestation of the planet start to fight. Meanwhile, Dawn and this female Pepe have a conversation about what it means to be a parent, what it means to be a child, and what it means to find love. And guys, boom, boom, boom. Ow, that hurt. This is good. I'm a sucker for stories about grieving. I will fully admit there is something that just gets me right there every time something talks about just the process of grief and what it means. And wow, this is great. That's the nature of space. All right, hold on. Let me start over because I got to read this. I just love this. Explain this. There's this thing the Surfer always says. The universe is infinite and ever expanding. Well, which is it? It can't be both. Why not? That's the nature of space. It's like a parent's love for the child. Before you're born, your parents' love for you is infinite. And from the moment you enter the world, their love for you expands. It grows every day. And Dawn says, that's how I feel about my dad. Lady says, no, dear. A child's love for their parent, that's the nature of time. It is both ageless and never-ending. The love you have for them was there from the moment you began, and even when they are no longer with you, your love for them goes on and on. Their love, your love, they are with you always and forever. Ah, that just gets me, guys. Stuff like that. I maybe it's sappy. I don't know. I thought that was incredibly emotionally beautiful. And it's, really interesting that they intercut it with this fairly epic fight between the Silver Surfer and this, shape-shifting planetoid monster thing. God. It's gorgeous, though. And Allred's art is so classic. It feels timeless in this way. This doesn't feel like a modern comic book. Don't get me wrong. tons of respect for Jack Kirby, Neil Adams, your classic comic book A-list artists. Tons of respect for them. And to varying degrees, I do like and I understand and I appreciate their art styles and what they did to contribute to the history of comic books and to the evolution of comic books. But generally speaking, if you ask me what's some of my favorite art in comics, like if you ask me to point to pages or covers or stuff that I think are just like amazing comic book art, I probably won't pick old school stuff. I really am a modern comics art kind of guy. It's just that's the style I'm used to. It's undeniably great. Most of the time, there are of course bad artists still. That's just what I enjoy. That's what I go to. Allred's style is very, very intentionally reminiscent of, you know, classic Silver Age 50s, 60s stuff. Everything about this looks like it's right out of that. I mean, we even get some, where's this section at? We get some Kirby crackle, guys. Right there, that panel. That's totally a Jack Kirby move. But this is still really neat to see it. It gives it a sense of just being timeless. This doesn't feel like it's, you know, super rooted in continuity or anything like that. It just kind of functions on its own. This was a solid, solid issue. All right. Where are my books? There we go. Let's continue on with DC Comics Bombshells, number 29. It's almost over. It's not fair. It's not fair. Don't worry, it is continuing. We did get news about this book. They are bringing. It's going to come back. It's going to have a new series. I believe issue 30 is the last issue of the current series, though. So we should have one more issue left, but the story is continuing, I believe, in the next volume as well. So this pretty much all takes place in Leningrad as the Bombshells deal with the Nazis trying to shell them, and Lois Lane and Andrea, the Reaper, the Phantasm, track down this mysterious power source connected to Doctor Strange, all while Supergirl and Power Girl are locked in combat. Or I should say, Power Girl is kicking the shit out of Supergirl while Supergirl tries to talk some sense into her. And she talks to her about someone that she loved, her sister, Courtney, Stargirl, and how losing her really did hurt in ways she could never imagine, and how she's not quite recovered from it yet. And she keeps, you know, telling Power Girl all this stuff, trying to convince her that she doesn't have to listen to Strange. She shouldn't listen to Strange. Strange is the kind of evil she's been raised to hate. And then the ultimate thing that does it is she talks about, even though she felt the loss of Stargirl, because of the loss of Stargirl, she is, or Supergirl, like, didn't want to fight in costume, didn't want to be a part of it, but she still fought against the Nazis in her grief and helped to you know, keep winning the war. And that revelation convinces Power Girl that she shouldn't be fighting for Strange. She should be fighting against him. Interesting. I did not know Courtney was based on the creator's sister. Interesting. So yeah, Power Girl changes sides with Supergirl, and starts to go fight against Strange. Then we get this really weird thing that this is. Oh, Jeff Johns. Okay. So like, Lois Lane exists in this universe. Supergirl exists in this universe. They've yet to meet until this issue. Lois Lane opens up a door. First person she sees is Supergirl, and this is the interaction they have. I mean, you don't even need me to read the dialogue. Just look at the way they're looking at each other. It is clearly a very romantic subtext. And this book is queer as balls. It is very much intentionally a very queer book. This is the first time I've ever gone kind of, no, I don't like that to one of the relationships. No, it is not because I am a homophobe with significant problems with lesbians and women. No. I'm fine. Ship whoever you want to ship. My issue more specifically about the notion of a romantic relationship between Lois Lane and Supergirl is just that Kara's not Clark. There's a lot to that on multiple levels, but Kara, especially in this, is not just a stand-in for Clark Kent. She has a similar flippy origin. Like, Supergirl's origin is very different in this and does more closely mirror Superman's origin. But at the same time, Kara still feels like a very, very different character from Superman in this. She does not have that that level of optimism that Superman has. I mean, she is down in the dumps for a lot of this series because of Courtney's death. There's just a lot of stuff where she is clearly not just Superman, but with tits. And so I don't like just throwing her and Lois in a relationship together because it just feels kind of cheap. It doesn't quite click with me. And then there's a more particular problem. So Power Girl leads them further into Strange's prison to help them break out the remaining prisoner, who is Superman. It's not like Clark Kent Superman or anything like that. It is a male clone of Kara. So it's just weird to me that not only are you going to ship Lois and Kara together, and to be fair, I'm not entirely sure that's what's happening. I'm just going all from the subtext of the art, which is pretty overt, but whatever. So not only are you going to ship them together, but you're also putting her and Kara together right at the second you introduce this universe's version of Superman. Here's an interesting question from Grady Childs. Who would you say would be more compatible to be in a lesbian relationship with Kara? Oh, that's a good question. This is going to sound weird. I'm not going to limit it to a lesbian relationship. This book has been queer as fuck, but it has been plenty queer. It does have straight relationships. You do have Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman, Mira and Arthur Curry. He's not Aquaman. they probably don't want to go through all the trouble at this point of introducing Legion of Superheroes. I don't know how much sense it would make to introduce Legion of Superheroes since they wouldn't fit the 40s aesthetic at all. But I do really like the idea of Supergirl and Brainiac 5. Steve and I just did the episode of Geeky Gentleman on Brainiac, and I do think it was an interesting idea to couple those two. But Red Leader does also bring up an interesting point, which is Mary Marvel, and she is in this universe, but she's also very young, and so that just, it would feel weird to me. So, I don't know. Nathan Snyder's talking about the new Spider-Man book and, like, not Dan Slott on it. I'm like, but he's involved in Silver Surfer, and that's amazing. So, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe he's just not good at Spider-Man. Or maybe Michael Allred's doing all the heavy lifting on that. Who knows? So, yeah, this was just a weird feeling. That I've been perfectly okay with every relationship that they've done that I've never thought of before. The way they've portrayed, Hawk Girl and Vixen. Who saw that coming as a couple? Anyway, so this is like the first pairing where I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it. But not because they scissor or whatever. No, I'm sure there are people complaining about that. Why the hell they're reading this book at this point, I don't know. But the big character arc for Supergirl that is concluded in this is that she has not been able to fly since Courtney died, because Courtney was her happiness, her world. So in this moment, in seeing that Superman is Power Girl's happiness or world, and I'm not sure if that's because they got like a brother-sister thing or a relationship thing going on, seeing that is how she feels, Supergirl realizes that that's Courtney. Everyone has that relationship in their life of someone that they feel everything for, someone who is their world. And so she'll be able to use that to gain back her heart. I thought you were the best of her, come back to me. But you are to Power Girl what my sister was to me. The one thing we each loved completely. She lives in each person who is so loved. She lives in each person yet to be saved. I can fly again. That's really, really cool, really powerful moment, and very, very enjoyable. Again, there's a lot of stuff. Like, you're gonna have to really try to convince me that Bennett's not trying to ship Supergirl and Lois Lane. That's a lot of stuff. Look at the look on Lois's face. That is so, oh, I am taking off my panties later. Oh, man. More Aquaman preview. There's some stuff with, like, Raven and Harley in them just in the very beginning, but doesn't really go anywhere. Neat little lecture on what it means to be in a time. Let's see here. We look in bewilderment and disgust at those among those in the past who did harm, who did nothing. How could they? How couldn't they? I would have fought, we think, spoken, marched, resisted, defended. I would not be one of those silent people in a silent world. Every era has its defining moment. The moment where the clock ceases to tick, ceases to move forward, where all lives come to rest upon the point of a second hand close to midnight. What would I have done? In the crisis of your life and age and era, what you do now is what you would have done then. It's a great statement. There is a lot of thought and a great deal put into this. You're going to have to give me a minute because Margurite Bennett posted a series of tweets months ago at this point, and I want to read it because it really does get to what she's talking about. So you're going to have to give me a minute to find it. People watching live, I apologize. People watching after the fact, this might be easier for you to find. I don't know. Okay. First, I have to figure out how to get to my likes. Okay, 4,680 likes to go through. That won't be hard. All right. Only in May now. Oh, this. I gotta stop liking as much stuff. I remember when I was like just starting out on Twitter, I wouldn't hit like all the time. I would reserve my like because that's when it was a favorite. That's when it had, you know, status behind it. Now I don't do that as much. I'm just like, oh yeah, I like this. I like this. I like this. This is cool. I like this. So I want to see if I can find this. Let's see if I can find this damn thing. It's going to take a minute, though, y'all. Let's try for March. Yeah, just looking for her name and didn't do it. Maybe I should try searching Twitter. All right, so let's try. It's hard. Twitter needs to make this easier, finding specific tweets. All right, at Eva Margurite. Oh, and if you have a Twitter and don't follow Margurite Bennett, even if you're not a fan of her stuff, she does post some really fascinating things, and also just like bomb-looking ass food. I highly suggest following her. Hopefully she doesn't tweet about Hitler too much. There's a sentence that okay, here we go. Let me find the beginning of this thing. Oh, it was in March 8th. I could have found it. All right. When I was 22, I was about to graduate from college. I was a protected, sheltered academic. I focused on English, history, psych, and German. My family is German, and I'd taken a lot of German classes, language, history, film, etc. It shows up in my writing, especially Bombshells. I was especially struck in a final German class in my final semester about the parallels between two young women in the Third Reich. One was Sophie Soule, who was executed by the Nazis for treason for her participation in the anti-Nazi White Rose resistance group. The other was Tradel Jung. Sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Actually, not sorry. Fuck her. Who worked as Hitler's personal secretary. After her arrest, struggling with her culpability, she said, "I didn't know anything about politics. It didn't interest me." Sophie Soule died at the guillotine at age 21. Tradel Jung went to work for Hitler at age 22. This was the moment, at 22, feeling my own heartbeat, my own body, my own place in the world, that I really and completely understood. You are responsible for the world you protect and for the world you create. Youth is no excuse. And that is a fantastic point. It is just, wow. This is why I like her so much. She is a very, very politically aware writer, unlike Nick Spencer, who seems to kind of sort of understand political implications of what he's writing until he doesn't think his own politics through. This actually does think its own politics through, and it is brutally honest. I mean, it's who are the good guys in this book? Obviously not Germany. Is America the good guys? No, they're war profiteers. Lex Luthor is a fucking war profiteer. Same with Oswald Cobblepot. Harvey Dent is brainwashed or something by German agents. Amanda Waller is the only representative of the American government here with the Bombshells program. Soviets? No. They are at best a desperate state. There's this discussion as they're inside, as Lois Lane and Andrea are inside the this big church. What do they call it? The big church in Leningrad with the spires. Yes, Bombshells animated adaptation, please. Just take my money. So they're in that church, and Lois says, "Every scrap of gold in here has been scratched or plucked and boiled down, hasn't it?" And Andrea replies, "Opiate of the masses, hoarding of wealth," and so on. The gold was used to fund the state instead. Schools and soldiers, ideally. Look, you want to talk moral relativism with a revenge killer in a forbidden church, you want to go punch our mortal foe. I mean, I'm not going to try to, I'm not going to try to defend Soviets or America or Germany or anything. I mean, it is a war. People did some desperate shit, some dark shit. America's just culpable as everyone else. Soviet Union certainly culpable for their actions. And that's kind of interesting that Hugo Strange is a man in this series who has worked for all three countries. Like, Britain is the only one who's not even Britain, because their desperation with the war industry, their desperation for new weapons to fight the Germans with, helped fund someone who wanted to work with the Germans. That is very, very accurate. So no, like, nation is the good guy here. There's none of that. And that's just interesting. The good guy are the Bombshells. The bad guy is Hugo Strange, who has Nazi ideals, has grand promises of saving the motherland, has the potential to create, astounding weapons that can be used for profit and destruction. It's a really bitter commentary on all three factions of the war, and that's really fascinating. It's just a good-ass book every time. Like, even when it's not great, it's still solid, There's not been a bad issue. I sat here and I complained about the Lois thing, but that doesn't make it, awful. I wonder if Sergeant Rock has appeared yet. I don't know who Sergeant Rock is, so you'll have to forgive me. Anyway. Let's continue on, go to something else here. Like, I feel like I've been talking forever, but I still got like so many books. Leader of Easy Company. Do you even DC? My bad. My bad. I'm sorry. Maybe he has, and I just didn't notice it because I didn't get the reference. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to Steve Rogers, Captain America, number 18. Here's an image of a comic book cover that has nothing to do with what's in the comic book. Every time. Are Namor and Captain America in this book? Yes. Do they fight? No. The whole point of the issue, as far as Namor's character, is that he is not able to fight Steve Rogers. This is also just a weird issue as far as continuity goes, because at the end of the last issue of Secret Empire, which came out last week, Namor gives Captain America the shard of the Cosmic Cube. That is what happens at the end of that story, or that chapter. This issue, Namor still has it. Like, it's so vague. It's like he still has it throughout this issue, and then at the end of the issue, he doesn't have it. So it's like you'd almost need to take the last issue of Secret Empire and intercut it with this issue, but you can't do that because in the last issue of Secret Empire, Steve Rogers was out the fucking country going and fighting Ultron and dealing with the Avengers. It doesn't make any sense. It's this weird continuity thing that we do. Like, this happens all the time in big epic crossovers where like shit just like is happening simultaneously and it doesn't really make sense. Ugh. So in this, though, the main focus of the story is Cap goes to talk to the acting United Nations, since the actual United Nations is stuck in the dark dimension. And he gives this big ranty speech about how Hydra isn't going to put up with the rest of the world's crap anymore. And he gives this big authoritarian, I'm the big man, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, you should let the people on the far right have a seat at the table. If you gave a damn, we're not going to do things by your rules anymore. It's pretty obvious, you know. Trump speaking to the world community. People afraid to talk up against Trump because now he's got America behind his back. And I will give Spencer, this is the thing that is so fucking frustrating about Nick Spencer, because Cap's going through all this ranting and raving about how like awful the world's treating Hydra and the far right wing of politics, fascist Nazis, and all this crap, and how they're not going to put up with it anymore. Now that they have the power, they're going to have expectations of nations and other people. And then just like in the middle of that, a bunch of screens pop up and T'Challa's on them. And he talks about how, just briefly, fuck it, I'm just going to read T'Challa's speech. Quite a rousing speech, Captain. But the representative from Wakanda requests the floor. Don't worry, Supreme Leader. This will not take long, and you may find it most interesting, seeing as our business very much concerns Hydra. 3 times now your forces have stepped foot on our lands seeking what rightfully belongs to us. 3 times now they have been slaughtered. I myself have run out of patience for these games, as Armanzola will clearly attest, but he is not the one who rules Hydra, is he? So I have an offer for this man who claims to have the right to invade our sovereign lands. Perhaps he would like to stop sending more men for me to kill. Perhaps he wants this to end. Perhaps he would like to come and see Wakanda for himself. Oh. That's cool. That is a cool moment. Having, Captain America, Nazi Cap, stand up there and spout far right rhetoric, and then just shutting him down and interrupting him with a backhanded bitch slap from Black Panther, and a challenge to, hey, you want to actually fight? That was cool. That was a really cool moment. And this is what makes Spencer's run so frustrating, is this isn't a particularly bad issue. I mean, hearing Captain America give a Nazi rant, pretty bad. But it's certainly what I've come to expect from in this story at this point. But damn, that was pretty badass, y'all. And then Namor shows up at the end, and he and Cap have a brief conversation about the costs associated with going to war with Hydra, since Namor just rebuilt Atlantis. And so that this concludes with, basically, this is the reason that Namor gave Cap the shard that he wanted, unlike T'Challa, who, didn't. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see those two sides juxtaposed, but I guess Hydra's going to war with Wakanda is the idea. Cool story. We'll see how that goes. Moving right along to Black Hammer, number 10. I just like this cover. I want y'all to see the cover. The mystery deepens. Martian Manhunter still can't find love. Violence escalates. The Dragonfly Witch commits murder. Flashbacks show Abe dealing with his age. More or less the extent of it. Let's talk about the flashback first. So we get this flashback to Abraham Slam back in his glory days in Spiral City, but it's not his glory days anymore. He's gotten a lot older, and he's having trouble keeping up with all the new threats and stuff in the world. So he has a new costume commissioned. This is quite obviously in reference to the 90s. Look at that costume. That nothing screams 90s to me more than that. So yeah, I was just surprised and like, oh, cool. to see this reference. So he's got this costume, but it's like bulky and inconvenient. And it almost gets him killed. But some young superheroes save his life. They're asking me questions in the chat that I don't feel like answering. I already talk about enough weird ass shit on this show. Do I have to answer questions like that? Anyway. So yeah, Abraham is saved by children and he's ashamed of that. Then in the present, what's his name? I always forget this dude's name. I know Barb Alien, but what's his like name? Well, let's start with this. So they discover Walkie-Talkie's body after it had been shot by Colonel Weird, but they don't know what's going on with that, and Abraham's kind of in denial about it. Tammy, who Abraham has been seeing, and who is still technically married to the town sheriff, is dealing with her soon-to-be ex-husband, and he is kind of stalking her, harassing her, and threatens to, you know, hit her. Believing that make it easier for you to slut around with that old bastard, quote from him, as they argue. Mark's his name. So Mark goes to see his priest friend, who he's got some chemistry with, and tries to reach out and hold his hand because he thinks that they're kind of being intimate with each other. And that kind of blows up in his face, and he feels really bad and is asked to leave, and finally does, because he can't apparently form a relationship with anyone. He had a similar thing happen a couple issues back with his partner when he was a cop. And then the main surprise of the issue is Abraham talks to Tammy about what her ex did and goes to beat the shit out of him. But before he can do that, the dragonfly lady is in his house and says, "You see, it's you who are in trouble, Sheriff. You've developed too much free will. You've become the one thing I cannot allow here, a supervillain." She morphs into this really freaky, scary ass image. And just straight up melts the dude alive. And that's the cliffhanger. Oh, people are having fun in the comments. Sorry I'm not being as active tonight, guys, but I got a lot of stuff I'm trying to get through. All right. Let's go ahead and move along to Batwoman number 4. This story gives us our background on the character. How do I say her name? They call her Knife, but shit, what's her name? Tallulah, something like that. Oh, there it was. Tahani, let's go with that. So we get some background on our villain Tahani and how I love that they do this with the art. They mirror her with Kate Kane. And how she came to this island paradise that Kate once lived on. And now that it's kind of gone to hell, she blames Kate Kane for that. And that's why she is helping destroy it and is trying to fight Kate Kane in doing so. So there's like all these bombs in caves all over this island, and they're going to be remote detonated. Kate gives an EMP to one of her allies, but in doing so, if they activate it, it'll disarm the bombs, or not, at least make them so they can't be blown up remotely. But Kate will be without her toys. She won't have the ability to use her technology to fight Tahani. And this is interesting writing because every time we've seen her fight Tahani so far, she's only won or survived because of technology she's had on her at the time. And we get like a very Bane versus Batman in the first fight in Dark Knight Rises. Like, hold on, I'm going to read this villain dialogue in a Bane voice. Because they're in a cave, there's artificial lighting, and an EMP goes off, so now there's no artificial lighting. And so they're in the dark.
A bold move, Kate Kane, to cripple yourself to fight me. Or your money or your empire. I've seen it all before, and I've helped to bring it down. The conquerors of the outside world. You seize sacred things, dismember them, distort them, repackage them for sale. What was concentrated is commercialized. What is canonized becomes colonized, becomes corporate business.
I don't know. It's a very Bane thing. It's like, think darkness is your ally. I was born in the dark, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was a man. But anyway, so Kate has to fight her off, and this is interesting. She's actually winning, which is really cool. And so Tahani like runs and goes for a boat, and Kate says, "Hey Tahani, you were forged by Sapphire, one of the characters' names that they have in common. But as I'm sure I've said before, I was forged by fire." And just look at that. That, my friends, you know what I'm going to say? You know what I'm going to say. That is a poster. God, that is gorgeous. Just wow. Oh, I love it. 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 Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, man. Man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Oh. Good book. I'm enjoying the hell out of that. It's just fun. They save the day, and Kate learns a lesson. It kind of just concludes after that. She beats the villain in the dark in her element. That was kind of clever. It's a cool character moment. All right, let's go ahead and go on. Sorry, I just like decided I was done talking about that. Let's talk about the book that's been previewed and previewed and previewed to death. We have Aquaman, number 25. So let me figure something out real quick, if you'll excuse me briefly. Oh, where's it at? Guys, finding stuff is hard. All right. So this is still being written by the same guy. Let me restart that sentence because I don't know how much you heard. This is still being written by the same guy that was writing the last issue, and I was less than impressed. I mean, it's not bad. It's just the most typical kind of Aquaman writing you could think of, where it's like, oh, the people of Atlantis aren't satisfied with the way Aquaman's running things because he's too much of a surface dweller. Oh. And that's still very much going on here. There's a time jump between this issue and the last issue. And in that time, Aquaman did not die. He actually, kind of floated down to the depths of Atlantis and is in, incognito and hiding, as it were. But I didn't pick this up for the story. This is like slightly improved because while the politics are still pretty much the main focus, the constant same politics of Atlantis are pretty much the main focus still. It's slightly more clever just in that Arthur's now an outcast and he's at the very bottom rung of the society. Reason I picked this up, the reason I added this to my poll was for this artist. Where's his name credited at? Is it in the front or is it in the back? I think he's credited in the back. Yeah, here we go. Steven Sejic. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This guy I follow on DeviantArt because of his lesbian bondage comic. Throwing that one out there. Do with it what you will. I'm waiting for the comments to just explode. But no, Steven Sejic is a really, really great artist, and he's a really strong writer. And I just want to see him work in DC more. This was the name of the bondage comic, Sunstone. That was the first official volumes are called Sunstone. Now it's transitioning to following two different characters called Mercy. So yeah, I'm aware of this artist because of his lesbian bondage comic. But he is a damn good artist. I mean, just look at this cover. He does art covers, colors on this book, and that is why I bought it. Atlantis looks gorgeous. Just every panel looks amazing. This is why I don't do this. Can I just talk about the art for an issue? Is that is that too much to do? I don't know, guys. That's gorgeous. And this also, I mean, I'll give Bennett some credit. I don't think anyone's done this with Atlantis, but apparently there's a rift at the very, very lowest part of the society, the city-state that is there from when Atlantis sunk, and it's essentially the slums of Atlantis. That's an interesting idea. I'll give him some credit there. And Arthur's been hiding out here, just blending in with the workers. But seeing how people are treated, he's decided to just become the Batman of Atlantis. So like you actually have people of Atlantis calling him Aquaman. Or like, and they think he's a ghost or whatever, but yeah, he's just using his powers to be Aquaman. That's kind of cool. I don't know. It's an interesting enough idea. I'm really happy because we have long hair Aquaman back. Now if he could just lose an arm, we'll be all set. I will say I did pick this up for the art, but I do feel to some degree that Steven Sijic has a bit of a problem with creating original character designs for like faces and stuff like that, because I know I'll be talking about him again next week because he did an issue of Suicide Squad. This character right here, Tula? Yeah, Tula is apparently like Mira's friend, but that's just what one of the main characters in Sunstone looks like. That is, it looks like he just drew her a second time, but made her hair slightly less red. So I find that weird. I find it weird that he pretty much just reused character design. It's certainly not a trick that artists are immune to, and she is not a central character by any stretch of the imagination, but I did find that a little on the suspect side that he just straight up reused character design. They're going on and on and on. Yeah, it's not. Jacob is my art guy, so I'm gonna kind of talk back and forth with Jacob. Jacob, Google search, or you follow him on Twitter. See if you can find some of the art he's posted from his issue of Suicide Squad for Captain Boomerang, and then compare that to his drawings of his original character. I want to say his name's Alex. It's just escaping me at the moment. Alex or Alec. Yeah, and like Jacob makes the point in Williamson's Flash, the artist has reused drawings of Barry's face in a panel 3 effing times. And that is that's silly, it's ridiculous, but like it's just when I've gotten into this artist for his original work, like this work, their big stuff that they do for like, you know, the superhero books or whatever, and then you go out and you seek their indie stuff, their creator-owned things. I found his creator-owned thing and read it and loved it and wanted to see more of his stuff, and then I discovered that he was going to be drawing Aquaman. I'm blurry apparently. What can I do about that? No, not my 6-hour video. Let's see here. Give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna go turn off my lappy tappy. It sounds like it's really running over there. Damn. It's you. Is Lappy Tappy code for sex? Yes. Yes. I just had some really quick sex. Is it any better, guys? Ooh. I also decided to indulge myself with some grape soda. Cool. But yeah, like normally I get into a guy, like if I'm gonna follow an artist, or like I rarely follow an artist, but I'm gonna follow an artist or writer, and I see their original work first, and I fall in love with their original work and go, wow, this is really cool. Like I look at this drawing of Tula. Shit, where'd that go? God damn it. Page flip, professional comic reviewer right here. I'm telling you, I can have my own like official sponsored show. I look at this image of Tula, and I don't see Mira's friend. I see Lisa. And I'm going to talk about the same thing next week, because you're going to see Captain Boomerang in the Suicide Squad issue that he did the pickups for. You're going to see Captain Boomerang, and it's just one of the characters from Sunstone. And it's not like it's one of the background characters who just shows up for a little bit. He is one of the main characters and is now the main character of the series. That's bizarre. You know what Ian should do? Make a standee of Steve and cut it in half and put it on the chair next to him. I don't know why I've never thought of that before. That is a fantastic idea. Anyway, so Arthur's Batman in the slums of Atlantis. And he's got a new sidekick. Mira is up on the surface. There's this. Here's something worth talking about. I'm just the worst fucking comic reviewer ever. I'm not prepared for this shit. I knew I was going to fucking talk about this. I don't know why I didn't just grab the goddamn book. Ah, shit. Where's issue 24 at? God damn it. Shit is difficult. There we go. All right. So we see the Crown of Thorns, which is like this magical barrier that's supposed to divide Atlantis from the surface world, and no one can get through it. And I'll see if I can give you some. Okay, here's the Crown of Thorns as seen in the last issue, almost fully erected. And then here's like a close-up of Mira trying to get through it. And you can see that it's like purple, and it looks like just roots with giant thorns on them. See that gold dome? That's how Stephen is depicting the Crown of Thorns. Now, admittedly, supposed to see a city shot of Atlantis. I don't know how you do that if it's covered up by a big mess of purple thorns. So, creative license, sure. But the Crown of Thorns went from being a physical object in the last issue, magical or not, it was still a physical object, to a vague energy barrier with some thorns, spiky things on top. That's kind of weird. And I mean, undeniably, not like it's a very different style and everything, but I mean, let's just look at these covers, right? Undeniably, out of the two, Stephen is the better artist. Undeniably so. But there is still the fact of the idea of consistency. And that is just blatantly not consistent in the slightest. And so I don't know how this is going to be collected, but I imagine that's going to be jarring as fuck when you get that transition. Grape soda. But man, some of these, oof. Just damn, I'm loving the art. But yeah, Aquaman's Batman. And some political dissidents living in Atlantis who are not happy with the new king and actually like Darth there, reach out and using magical sources to communicate with Mira. Mira's basically like catatonic. She's just so disappointed that Arthur is dead. She saw Arthur die in front of her eyes. And she somehow managed to make the journey back to land. So she's just catatonic as can be and like not eating, obviously very depressed. But she gets word that Arthur's alive and just immediately gets up and starts striving to go. Ah, God damn it. Starts striving to go out and save Arthur. Now you'll be looking at it and go, okay, so there's Arthur, there's Mira. Who the fuck this? And she is introduced in this issue. So we have the fascist Atlantean police harassing some of the poor people in the neighborhood Aquaman's been protecting. And they talk about undesirables or mutants. Steve, stick around. You're almost in time for War of the Jokes and Riddles, number 1. Because I'm almost done talking about Aquaman. But anyway, so we have this character who's introduced, and she has like some kind of fish-like mutation where she can like kind of become part fish. And that's just, neat. She appears to be mute, which is interesting. So Arthur has to come in and save her. Yes, it is Dolphin. I didn't know if she was a pre-existing character, but that is her name. Her name is Dolphin. They call her and her people like that are mutated taint bloods. I like that. Steve says, would have been here earlier, but I got sidetracked with a potential paper on Superman. How many papers are you writing right now, Steve? Oh, Dolphin is from the Peter David run. Well, that's perfect because we're getting Peter David Aquaman back. All we need is for him to lose a hand. We really just need for him to lose a hand. Matthew Bennett asks the important questions. Ian, do Atlanteans have sex like normal people, or do they reproduce like fish? Discuss that in the comments, folks. But yeah, Dolphin shows up, and Arthur saves her, but she wants to go with him. She won't run away. She wants to go with him and fight with him. And he's like, "Oh, for God's sake, come on, do exactly what I tell you. Can't you talk? What's your name?" And so yeah, they swim off together to go form a resistance to the new regime. Cool. I'm really interested to see this keep going. Like the story again. Not really the thing I'm that interested in. But man, this art is pretty. This is just really, really gorgeous. Please go buy this just for the artist because, again, I am so wanting this guy to do a Harley Quinn series. I really, 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 really want this guy to do a Harley Quinn series because he's got a great voice for the character. And I think that if his stuff at DC just sells through the roof, that we could get a Harley Quinn book from him. In my wildest dreams, that is what I want right now. And so if you're like on the fence, if you think the art looks cool or whatever, I don't care. Just go pick this up for me, if for no one else. You can read the last 2 issues, but honestly, it's the most basic Aquaman story ever. The people of Atlantis aren't happy with him because he's from the surface world. Ian, but DC will never let there be a good Harley Quinn book. We already have a garbage Harley Quinn book, but hear me out. What if we got a limited series, amazing Harley Quinn book? Throwing that one out there. All right. So, yeah, you should pick this up. Whew. All right. So we got Tom King for just the rest of the episode. These are the things that we will be talking about for the rest of the episode. Oh. Man. So War of Jokes and Riddles. The first part 1, starting in Batman number 25. Yeah, Steve, you can come talk about Batman 25 with me. Here, check your direct messages on Twitter. Here's the link, Steve. Steve is welcome on Comic Reviews anytime. Oh my. I'm waiting on Steve then before we talk about War of Jokes and Riddles. How's everybody doing in the chat? Oh, there's no way to talk about this without spoilers. If you haven't read this yet and you don't want spoils, just go. Is this about to be a crossover? Yeah, because this guy's never on my show. Never on, like Steve Baxi on the Sid Part 2 channel. Pfft, who's ever heard of something like that? Are there any reveals? I mean, yes, kind of. It's not like a huge story issue. It just kind of sets up like what set up the conflict, but it shows you what set up the conflict. The War of Steves and Ians. Yes, I love it. That is a great idea. Oh my. Red says, I will stick around. Well, you don't complain to me then if I talk about something that was just cool. Oh, who is this Steve guy? Some a-hole. No one likes him. Oh, what's going on? What is going on in the world, folks? Nothing good. Never anything good. Nothing good ever happens in the world anymore. Besides Tom King's Batman. Steve!
Sup?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Not bad. I just got home from work a little while ago, so I'm exhausted, but I caught your live show.
Yay! Steve caught the live show.
I did. I was so fucking excited picking this up this morning. I just could not wait. First thing I did this morning was read this issue.
Dude, I got like a good 2/3 through it on my lunch break, but I had to go back in. I was like, God damn it. I got this close to just not going into work on time for the end of my lunch so I could finish this issue. I got like, because I know they wouldn't like overreact. It's not like I would get fired or something. It's just if you're like excessively late. I should have finished the issue because
Should have. What the fuck, man? This is more important.
well, like, you know, the point at which I had to go in. It's the real killer where I had to go in at.
Oh boy, what part is it?
Right there. I had to go in.
No. That's the thing that like makes the whole story.
I know.
Literally, it's that scene. Oh man. Can I say, by the way, they've advertised all of DC's issues this week as oversized issues, and they're like they're like 8 pages bigger, and that's it.
Yeah, and most of them just are previews of Aquaman.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's dumb. Annoying.
To be fair, I want people to buy this book so that Steven Sedgwick gets more play because I need him to be writing Harley Quinn.
I'm so behind on Aquaman. I need to go back through and get that.
It's pretty typical boring from the 2 issues I read before the run, but I'm liking the art now. That's why I picked it up. So anyway, so more jokes and riddles. This starts out really fucking ominously with Batman narrating and this guy talking on stage and getting shot by the Joker because he doesn't have any funny material. And then another comedian coming out and dragging his body off stage before he starts his set.
Well, okay, interestingly, though, it's not that he doesn't have funny material. It's that the Joker can't laugh or doesn't find it funny.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that played up in that particular way before.
No, because Morrison made a reference to it one time in his first issue, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this is literally the running the gamut of what would that actually look like for the Joker, which is fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting how I don't really know what the history is of this because it appears this is like what, year 3 at the earliest? Because it references year 1.
Year after 0 year, right?
I guess. I don't know. It's hard to tell because you cannot have 0 year in year 1, right? That's just. But like he talks about year. He clearly makes a reference to year 1. He doesn't quite reference 0 year. The Riddler's just in prison, right? It's not like they mention 0 year at all. Or did I miss something?
This is a weird thing. This is every time someone asks Tom King or anytime DC has to talk about the book, they say that the timeline is 0 year and then War of Jokes and Riddles. But very clearly, stuff in between must have happened, like Batman first meeting the Joker, year 1, all that crap. And then anytime Tom King has to make reference to Batman's career in between the beginning and current, he only mentions the Scott Snyder stuff, but clearly other stories must have happened. So I'm convinced that this isn't actually a year after 0 year. They're just saying that because if they said anything else, they'd have to explain the continuity, and no one knows what the fuck that is at this point.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. It is just like one of those things where the continuity doesn't quite matter, and like they just shouldn't have done that with 0 year in the first place, where they tried to convince you that it was somehow not contradicting year 1 at every turn.
Yeah. Those two things don't work together, but now they have to.
Yeah, and like the thing that gets me about this is I only see references to year 1 in here, not 0 year.
Yeah.
And that's just weird. So I don't know. In my mind, this is just year 3 Batman.
I agree. Yeah.
That's just kind of what I'm going for because you need that about a year for Batman and to meet Riddler and Joker, and then there are all these other villains. This is interesting, but it's in a weird place where it's like it feels like it's supposed to be a lot older in continuity than it's actually set.
And that's the biggest issue with King's run as a whole, which isn't really his problem as much as it's DC's, where like clearly there's a history King is referring to, and we can't ever get that version of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like, I mean, you look at this page, which is it's weird to see Janin do this artistically because this page feels like it was written for Finch. This looks like something Finch would draw.
Yeah, I get you there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Janin's stuff still looks great here. Just that looks like it's supposed to be a David Finch page. But like all those villains, like some of them were kind of introduced in
the action dynamics and stuff. And Yanin's got that whole thing with like more space. You never see that many things in any one of his panels, and it's kind of bizarre too.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, just like if all these villains are going to be involved in the war of jokes and riddles, okay.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's not that early in his career anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it definitely can't be 0 year because that was a whole year where like there were no other villains besides the Riddler.
That's the other weird thing about this. Where like clearly King's got a very particular voice for the Joker, and we're going to see that going forward. But this is a Batman and Joker that have met already, and I would love to know what he's taking as the canon first battle between those two characters to be like.
That's a good question.
Because there are so many options, and I have some assumptions, but like, it's not Man Who Laughs, I don't think. It doesn't seem like this would be a sequel to Man Who Laughs, but there's so much of like Batman #1 played into this. There's a little bit of that Dennis O'Neil original Joker first meeting story that no one remembers. I can't remember the name to it anymore. But, like, there's a lot
You're
of like
part of the problem, Steve.
Probably I am. But like, there's lots of like first time Batman and Joker fought stories. And I don't know if King's like pulling from one of them or if he has a particular idea of what that is, and we'll see that as this story goes on.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird things where like I'm not entirely sure this needs to be such a prequel story. This just could have been an indeterminate number of years ago.
That's kind of what I'm thinking it is. It's just that's not the way DC wants to pitch it.
Fair enough. Because that's like they've gotten so like continuity conscious with like, oh, well, we can't have the characters be too old. They're all in their 20s or whatever. And so Batman's had like 5 Robins in 2 years or whatever. However the hell that works. Jason Todd really aged up.
What the fuck? For 10 at this point.
Yeah. So like there's just such a weird thing trying to scrunch this all into one continuity when I think it was just better to just like, yeah, there's time passes, but they're busy people. Things happen. So it's just kind of like a general sense that it's been a while. Whether that a while is several years or several months or several days, who knows? Yeah. And that's just kind of generally how I prefer to read DC. When I try to map out the continuity, it gets really sticky.
It always has. It always will.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Joker murdering comedians, Riddler murdering a detective to escape prison.
Although this is really cool, right? The idea that the police, while Nigma's in custody, use him to figure out things they can't otherwise figure out, that's kind of awesome.
Oh, it sounds brilliant, but that's just a thing that people actually do in law enforcement. Is just get criminals to try to help them solve cases. Famously, Catch Me If You Can is based on a guy who was doing that. He was a white collar criminal, fraud, doing check fraud. He was arrested and then eventually started helping the FBI, first in prison and then as a consultant after he got out.
James Spader and White Collar are both two things that have used this premise constantly.
Yeah, it's a what is CI, criminal informant.
Confidential.
Oh, is it confidential? I thought it was criminal.
Confidential.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Acronyms.
Yeah, no, that totally works. That's an incredibly fascinating, interesting idea. And of course, Riddler just likes a mystery, so that totally works for his side of things as to why he would actually help.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And so he's aware of something that the police are not, and that's why he decides to escape when he does.
Yeah.
I'm not a ton to really talk about with the Joker blowing up the police as they tried to raid him.
No, he's really depressed.
Yeah,
That's what you get in the middle of this story is he's just really down and unhappy. He doesn't even really feel like twisting the dead body's face into a smile.
yeah, I really like that sequence of panels. That was neat, where he's like, he does it, and he's like, fuck it, whatever.
And like the whole car accident thing as it's coming up, or like the way he says the same joke twice, and he changes it from man to woman to see if it's funnier, and it's not. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way he's drawn, and I love the way he's written. He feels like a manic depressant. Like he feels like there's something really there in his psychology that makes him think things are funny, and it's not just arbitrary.
Definitely. Like, you know, I've always liked the idea that the Joker doesn't laugh at like typical things. You know, you and I really love the Batman, and one of my favorite moments from that series is the Joker cracking up watching television, and he goes, "Oh, physical comedy is truly an art." And then you just hear a voice from the TV say, "We'll be back to world's deadliest animal attacks after these messages." And that is like totally the Joker. We're like, you know, Paul Dini likes to write him like he's a big fan of like classic Hollywood comedies and stuff. And I'm like, I kind of get where he's going with that, but I really like the idea that he just has a really, really fucked up sense of humor.
But I mean, that's the key to it, right? Like, and this is the thing you talk about with Scott Snyder all the time that he never gets, which is the Joker tells jokes.
Mm-hmm.
He's funny, but he also has a particular sense of humor, and you have to, when you're writing the Joker, play into whatever you think that sense is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, like that's the thing is the Joker doesn't ever do or say anything remotely funny in any of the stuff Snyder does with him. He just has these big, long explanations and stuff. It's like he's trying to write Heath Ledger, who had that, but you know what? Heath Ledger fucking lit a fire truck on fire. There's levels to that stuff. Here he's telling jokes, but they're not funny to him. Nothing's clicking. He's not able to laugh, and that's a really interesting motivation for the Joker. That's not traditional for the Joker, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. Particularly
when you get to that confrontation in the middle, which we'll talk about, which is just fucking brilliant.
Yeah. And let me just say, this scene, the next scene is Riddler like properly escaping prison because he got a SWAT team after him. I don't know where he got the hat. I don't care. I love the hat.
He looks kind of like a stereotypical Irish thug.
Yeah, a little bit. I can dig it.
Yeah, he reminds me of the Riddler you like so much from that story. What's it called?
Oh yeah. Riddle Me That.
Riddle Me This?
No, I think it's just called Riddle Me That.
Riddle Me That?
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's ever this or that, but it's one of the two.
It's one of them. Read both.
Yeah, but he reminds me of that Riddler, who's far more physical.
Oh, I'm getting lost in conversation with you. I'm not talking about panels. So here's some of the panels of like the Riddler that we're talking about. He does have that kind of thug look to him. Thug life, Riddler. And then
love this paneling.
Yeah. And here's the Joker trying to get the guy's face to smile, and he just doesn't have the heart to do it, so he just puts it back to normal. It's Riddle Me That. It is Riddle Me That. Thank you, Jacob.
Okay.
So anyway, I love this scene where Riddler's like actively escaping from prison, and he's just so damn intimidating.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I
love the notion that he got to know the guards and just mentioned all of their family members' names, and they didn't know what to do with that, so they let him go. That's kind of brilliant. Yeah,
they're just like all terrified, and so they just let him leave.
So maybe this, I don't know, but like, because we have that confrontation in the middle about like a joke is funny if the punchline is unpredictable, and so far everything we've gotten with this, the Riddler has been more like the Joker than the Joker. Where like in all the promotional stuff, the Joker isn't the one smiling, Riddler is, and everything that's kind of quote unquote funny about this issue comes from the Riddler side of things. So is it weird that this sequence is kind of funny, and it plays more like a Joker scene than it does a Riddler scene.
Oh, it totally does play like a Joker scene. I actually wrote a Joker scene kind of like that at one point. Bobby and I did a fan film years ago. That was like my take on the Joker blogs with a more comic book style Joker. And it's like there's the Joker and another inmate are waiting to go into therapy sessions. And the inmate says, "Hey, you're the Joker. Tell me a joke." And the Joker has the guy tell him his name and his date of birth, and then starts laughing because his life is the joke. And that's just like, that feels very similar to this way that Enigma escaped, where he just starts saying names of these loved ones. And that's just really, really scary.
Yeah. And then contrast that perfectly with the next page, which is Joker in the back of a car shooting his driver and like hurting his neck just because he's trying to find something that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a very Joker scene.
No, it's not. He's very I don't know how I feel about it. It's incredibly fascinating, and I'm like, this is such a different thing to do with the Joker. I'm like so interested.
Like it's King's got a voice for the Joker. He's not just like he hasn't just shown up and assembled all the toys and is playing with them for a while. He has sculpted this in a very particular way.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And I'm really fascinated to see where it goes, particularly as we get to Enigma showing up at the place where Joker was leading Batman. And you just get this, oh my God, dude, okay, here's my first complaint. This shouldn't be 2-page spread followed by amazing 2-page spread. This should have been a fold out.
I don't like foldouts. I think it's kind of interesting structurally that you have an entire page of Riddler and an entire page of Joker before both of them merge into one panel later.
Yeah, but like what I think would have been interesting is if you open it up and you had this, and then you try to do the page turn, but then it was the fold out. Because then you would have an entire page of Joker or Riddler. Then you get the context for Joker, and then you get the page turn to put them together.
Maybe. I just don't like foldouts very much. Maybe that's my thing.
Maybe, I don't know. I think it's really fascinating. Like, I just love how pissed the Joker looks that Riddler shows up when he was waiting for Batman.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And it's funny how the Riddler enters the scene saying knock knock, and the Joker responds with who's there. Because like jokes and riddles, obviously Riddler gets a lot of shit for just being a ripoff of the Joker from people. And to be fair, people do write him like that sometimes.
I mean, that's where you get the issue with there's a difference between a riddle and trivia and a pun. Like you don't just write the Riddler as the Joker except funny. That's not how that works.
Yeah. And so like to have Riddler come with a knock knock, which is something that's obviously it's more a joke than anything else, but it is still a question. It is still something that you can use to set up. There's like a mystery behind a knock knock joke. That's what makes them funny.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of fascinating that there's like a solvability thing, because you really could go knock knock, who's there, say a thing, and then instead of saying blah 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 who, you could actually anticipate and reason out the punchline at that point. I mean, it'd be a shitty move. And if you wanted to kill a knock-knock joke, there's an easier way to do it. Steve, start a knock-knock joke.
Knock, knock.
Oh, hey, come on in.
I fucking hate when people do that. So this exchange they have is fantastic, and just to sell more of this Joker thing, Joker's not just sad, he's fucking pouting. In every panel. He's just pouting. He like wants you to know he's sad. Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Except not quite so Robert De Niro.
Oh, is that what I got going on, Robert De Niro right now?
A little bit.
You talking to me? Must be talking to someone. I only see us here.
So, and this is from Morrison did this a little bit. So Morrison had a whole thing with the Joker where part of the reason the Joker needed to reinvent himself the way he did in the middle of that run is because Joker's pattern for Batman got predictable at that point, and so he needed something else.
Mm-hmm.
And here, it's a very similar thing where Joker, and this is where I think King's got his own take on Joker. Because King's got his own take on a lot of like quintessential Batman questions, like did Gotham create Batman or did Batman create Gotham? Are Batman and Joker like this constant dialectical relationship? To the Gotham thing, King's answer is very much definitively Gotham makes Batman, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like he's got a very particular thing here where the Joker had to be someone before Batman showed up. And now the Joker has to find himself again now that Batman's arrived.
Definitely. And what's also interesting is you're doing that without having to give a Joker origin, right?
Yep, exactly.
I have no doubt in my mind that we will not see a Joker origin in this. That is a pretty bold thing. I'm not saying that it's going to be bad if he does it. I think you do not need it whatsoever.
And considering how minimalist King is with motivation spelling out, I'm sure he's not going to go that far.
Yeah, and that's just inherently fascinating. And also, it's interesting that this came out during Looney Tunes week or Looney Tunes month with the DC crossovers.
Oh yeah,
dude, Dr. Manhattan fucked shit up. But like, so this coming out during the whole Looney Tunes month, and Riddler's got this whole premise, and this is why I hate talking about humor, because Riddler's very logical and reasoning everything out, and he's talking about the only solution that will make them both happy about Batman is for them both to kill Batman together, because Riddler couldn't let him do it, because Riddler couldn't let Joker do it, because then he'd never have the satisfaction of besting Batman, and Joker couldn't let Riddler do it because then the joke would be over. And that's all well and good and fascinating. So Riddler's whole logic is if they do it together, then they'll both be fine. But that doesn't hold. Like the logic is, oh, well, Batman saving the day has become predictable, so now you can't laugh. Well, since when does predicting a joke matter? I know every time I watch Wile E. Coyote try to catch the Roadrunner, he is going to fail. It's still hilarious. I understand that it's predictable. It's still funny. So this is why the logic doesn't really apply to what Riddler is trying to do. And it's so funny because it blows up in his face in the most predictable way. What happens when someone tries to ally with the Joker? He betrays them. Well, and it happens instantly.
The Riddler thinks that he has some kind of leg up on the Joker, and he never does. Or even if he did, the Joker won't let him keep it.
Yeah. Like, instantly he betrays him. Instantly. No second thought about it. No long game, no playing out. It instantly blows up in his face. So this whole idea of it's predictable, that was the most predictable thing. How did you not see that coming?
Yeah. Well, and then part of it also just being like, on some level, the Joker does not want to team up with the Riddler anyway, so he wouldn't take this invitation. But then also the level of unpredictability where maybe the Joker thinks, yeah, this is a good idea, but maybe if I shoot him, it'll be funny, and no, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, there's just something so simple about this Joker's motivation flipping at every second, because every second his mind's getting bored with the fact that he's not laughing yet.
Yeah, I really like that. And that's the interesting thing, is to see what his underlying motivation will be, right? How does the Joker deal with not finding something funny anymore? Like, what is going to be the thing in this book that makes him start laughing again?
And I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line is going to be kind of the logic you spelled out, where Joker needs to find humor in the predictability of his pattern, or else he's never going to laugh at all, and we know that can't happen.
Yeah.
Because the Joker usually likes the endless cycle of violence with Batman, despite always losing, and this one doesn't. He's clearly a very young Joker.
And see, the question is, like, making it so early-ish in the career of Batman, but making it a commentary on a long-running thing with Batman and the Joker, how predictable is it really right now at this moment in time?
Yeah.
And like, you know, Riddler, of course, makes the offer to kill Batman together. And yes, Riddler wants to kill Batman by, you know, beating him intellectually in something. I'm not convinced that King's Joker wants to kill Batman. Generally speaking, I don't like when writers have Joker want to kill Batman. I do much prefer the, you know, kill you, you complete me kind of thing. Maybe this will be the Joker realizing that. Maybe that will be the conclusion of his thing, is that the predictability of it all is what's hilarious, because Batman is this guy, this person who is just factually hopeless. He is never going to end crime. He is never going to stop people from being shitty to each other. That is a goal that is without end. And so the absurdity of trying to do that, and trying to do that in the most over-the-top, ridiculous way by dressing up like a bat, is the thing that is funny. The fact that the Batman seems to, on some level, acknowledge that life does not have meaning, but still fight and kick and scream and act like it does, is the part that the Joker finds endearing and funny about him. And so maybe it'll be, you know, Joker coming to that full realization.
And how interesting is that, connecting it back to Batman number 24, which is Batman realizing the pattern of his life and actively choosing something to break that pattern.
Yeah, but something that like feeds into the pattern, because as King is obviously aware, his relationship with Catwoman is doomed to fail. That's what Rooftops was all about.
Because if the narrative device for this whole arc is Batman reciting this story to Selina, then it's him thinking he's breaking a pattern, explaining how the pattern got set up, and potentially by the end of it, realizing that he hasn't actually broken the pattern at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Depressing as fuck right from the get-go. I love it. It's like Elizabethan tragedy all over.
Oh, man. And then there's just like, I love how inhuman with just determination Batman's rogues gallery is.
Yeah.
Because Joker just shoots Riddler right in the stomach, and that's how we get the explanation for the question mark scar now, and that we saw in some of the promotional images. That'll be cool. But Riddler gets shot in the stomach, and Batman says himself, at that range, he should have died. Everybody should have died at that range. But he tricked me. I went off. I thought I had more lives to save. And they both got away.
Yep.
That is solid. That is just like, I love the fact that Batman villains are immortal just because of how much they hate Batman.
Well, it's a really cool reversal that all three arcs that King did before this kept showcasing Batman doing something that is quote-unquote physically impossible. And now the first time we see something like that in the new arc, it's the Riddler doing it.
Mm-hmm. And I have no doubt and like the Joker too, because the Joker survives a really horrible car crash thinking that he'd break his neck in it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That now suddenly all the tropes that we saw in the last three arcs are being reappropriated by Batman's villains, and we can kind of see on a prequel level how Batman has to level up to that as time goes on.
Certainly, and I mean it just goes again to the idea of how do you write a really good Batman villain? You put Batman in a funhouse mirror. And so these guys have this, like I think almost all of Batman's like main tier villains have, to one level or another, his determination, or a similar determination. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it. But like Joker, I think is the rawest form of that, and it's interesting to see that with Riddler, extended to Riddler as well.
And it's going to be interesting to see how King plays up his particular voice for all of these villains, and whether or not they do similar things or if they test Batman in similar ways, because he's already teased Deadshot and Deathstroke going at it, and they're in the middle of it in this big final page that we get. But he's written Grundy before, and Grundy's been a really interesting metaphor for Gotham Girl in the previous arc. The fact that he's going to literally have Man-Bat and Clayface around, which are much more malleable and easily reversible mirrors for Batman. There's so much literary potential all scattered through that last page, and I can't wait to see how this goes.
Dude, I just need more Man-Bat in my life, just in general.
Everyone or Man-Bat. Man-Bat is so underrated.
Yeah. How crazy would it be if the Batman's villain was Man-Bat? Like this gritty Ben Affleck crime noir is all about, it all leads up to fucking Man-Bat.
I would fucking love that, because when Man-Bat was first created, he was like this seedy, background, horrifying character for like 10 issues. It was great.
Yeah, I could dig it. It's like Batman's investigating some really bizarre murders, and it all leads back to Man-Bat. That should be the Ben Affleck Batman movie.
My favorite thing about it too was basically when Man-Bat was first created, the whole notion was we created him because we're exploring the concept of Batman losing touch with his humanity. So Dick Grayson leaves for college. There's no more Robin. He moves out of the manor and lives in the middle of the city now, just so he can constantly fight crime. He makes it so that Wayne Enterprises and his Bruce Wayne persona are helping the people during the day that Batman helps at night. He's literally slowly moving away from the human side of his Batman-ness, and all throughout doing this, Man-Bat keeps showing up. Mm-hmm. Like, it's kind of brilliant, and we never did anything with that afterwards.
It's too bad. Man-Bat's just really cool. I need like Man-Bat, Killer Croc, and Clayface to be on a team together.
Well, we've got Clayface and we've got Man-Bat and Killer Croc on one side, it looks like here, and then Clayface on the other.
Yep.
Assuming that we can see these battles as the battle lines.
I would think so. So Red Hood versus Deathstroke, huh? Or no, Deathstroke, Deadshot. My bad. They chose the wrong side of Deathstroke to show because he kind of looks like Red Hood with a sword.
I also don't like that costume.
Yeah, generally speaking, he's a little too small for that. It gets hard to tell who he is.
Assuming that this is the battle line, Penguin on Joker's side is interesting as fuck, but probably makes more sense. Because Penguin would know not to team up with the Joker, not to team up against the Joker. I'd give you that. And I mean, on the side makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that too, because Two-Face tends to be more like lawful evil. Whereas Joker's just pure chaos. So yeah, like you look at it, Joker's got Mad Hatter, that makes perfect sense. Ventriloquist makes perfect sense. Deadshot will do anything for money. Penguin's smart enough to know the battle lines. Man-Bat's very animalistic. Killer Croc at times too, depending on who's writing him. I'm a little surprised. I think Grundy may be more for Joker and Killer Croc more for Riddler, but
it depends, right? Because I don't know if we do this anymore, but Grundy has a thing where every time he dies and comes back, he comes back slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
So there are versions and periods of time where Grundy comes back and like he's just a normal, sane person.
Okay.
And that could be this version. Maybe it isn't, but it could be. That's what he was during his whole tenure on Starman.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that could be. I don't know.
Oh, I missed Poison Ivy. Some of these I can kind of just see instantly. Other ones I'm like, really? That's surprising.
It's gonna. Part of it is we can see the rationale for why like Joker or Riddler would recruit them, but it's going to be a different story to see how King writes these characters as to why they would agree to join these sides.
Yeah, I'm really, really hoping, and not to put the cart before the horse, but part of me is really hoping that this, the way these issues play out, is every issue not only deals with Riddler and Joker, but deals with characters on these different sides.
And I'm sure it will. It's going to be the longest arc he's done so far, and I imagine he's going to pad out some of that with more exploration of the villains and the actual collateral damage of this whole thing, because that's what it seems to be about, which he keeps pitching it as Batman's one great failure, and that has to be beyond just the Joker and Riddler fighting each other.
Yeah, definitely. And like I'm wondering if this might be kind of like a War Games tone thing where it's like he actively makes the decision to let them fight it out, and that's what the failure is.
It definitely tonally feels like War Games. Like reading this, it had that same sort of epic scope that I haven't read in a Batman story in a long time.
Yeah, War Games had its problems, but man, that was a cool ass idea.
It was, and it was intense. Like,
yeah,
that story didn't feel like a slog like all the Snyder stuff does.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So this is a really interesting setup for a story. I'm really curious to see where this goes.
Is that supposed to be Firefly behind Deathstroke and Two-Face?
I
can't tell.
Maybe, yeah, you're right. That could be.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, it's Firefly versus Penguin, I think.
Okay, I'm assuming because of like the hot streaks. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, and it looks like he has some kind of winged apparatus on his back. Wait, what the fuck? No, this is the worst issue ever now.
Why?
No Kite Man.
Kite Man, hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, Kite Man's gonna come up though. Kite Man's gonna be like the linchpin in all of this as it goes on.
That would be the greatest thing ever.
I'm excited for this though. I legitimately can't wait for the next issue, and I was really, really fucking excited for this.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm just really excited to see someone write the Joker well. It's been like 8 years.
Yeah, it's been a long ass time. This is good.
Yeah, totally. Well, Steve, I don't know when the last time you read it was, but do you want to stick around? Because I'm going to talk about
Tom King's Vision. Tom King's Vision is one of my favorite works of comics. I fucking love it, but I'm probably going to bow out of the conversation and go get something to eat while I'm watching you talk.
That's fine. I understand. Thanks for joining me for talking about more of the jokes and riddles, Steve.
Thanks for letting me on. This was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Yep. Time to talk Vision. All right. So I'd been hearing people rant and rave about this volume. This is like the first thing King did that really got his name on the map for a lot of people. This was coming out roughly around the same time as Omega Men. That and this were just hella popular. Read Omega Men, and we did a Geeky Gentleman on it, so feel free to go watch that. But my overall feeling on Omega Men is it is good. It's just it does a lot of stuff to the character of Kyle Rayner. That's just really hard to see that character go through. So I don't love that. So I've enjoyed Omega Men, but more on a technical level than a personal level. I don't have much connection to Vision, so this is something I'm more open to. And let me tell you, King's good at writing some depressing ass shit. Like you kind of just know looking at this that it's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be kind of like goofy, tongue-in-cheek, kind of silly fun style comic book that's just like playing around with tropes and having fun with it, or it's going to be something kind of twisted, kind of depressing, kind of freaky. It's the second one. I love this fucking mailbox. I am in love with this fucking mailbox. Anyway, so the story here is that the Vision has created for himself a family and has moved into a suburb of Washington, D.C. And no one is quite comfortable with it, but everyone is being polite. And just having these kids and this wife interacting with people and dealing with this world is going wrong, and it's creepy and it's weird. Because Vision is very much not a person. So we're dealing with just a lot of shit right now, guys. Let me just talk about this scene. So Viv Vision, who has become a fan favorite very quickly, goes around the corner during a discussion with her mother and brother. She goes around the corner, and this is probably the best page turn reveal I've ever seen in a comic book. Because goddamn, that's a shocking ass moment. Like, we always talk about this with books where, like, you're reading and then a big action moment happens over here when you get to this panel. And like your eye is just immediately drawn to that because that's the most colorful, that's the biggest, that's the splashiest, but it's kind of spoiled for you in advance. So the page turns your way to circumvent that. And that used it really well. So Viv is attacked in her home, and this is where all their problems start. And it is just tragic and sad and creepy and sad, and also tragic and creepy and sad and scary. And so the family is now having to deal with all the fallout from this moment. And it's a while till Viv's back. And this just causing problems in every level of their lives, wherein it's making Vin Vision have trouble at school. It's making his wife have trouble dealing with the issue, especially since she's hiding it from her husband. And it's making Vision have to compromise himself as a superhero. Especially since his wife is hiding what she did by killing this guy that attacked her daughter. Yeah, his son's named Vin Vision. I think I got that right. Did I get it wrong? Visions of the future. Yeah, Vin. They're all named Viz something. This is my wife, Virginia, my daughter, Viv, and my son, Vin. But we just have like things going, absolutely sideways, and people dealing with not really knowing what to do with the existence of a robot family. And it's just creepy, and it's weird, and it's unsettling. This really isn't a superhero comic in a particular way. This is a horror sci-fi book. It's a really slow burn. It's not like creep you out, gross you out kind of horror. It really deals with preconceived notions. It deals with societal commentary like sci-fi, but it also does just unnerving, unsettling, disturbing things that it's making you think about and deal with as you read through it. So it's kind of sickening in a weird way. And I don't mean that as like a slight against it. It is intentionally doing things to make you uncomfortable as you read it. And it's doing that with superheroes, which is just interesting. There is a fair amount of gore in here too, though. I mean, you had Viv get fucking cut open with a goddamn scythe in that first issue. Like, that's a pretty graphic ass image. And this got a T rating. If that was blood, not wires coming out of her, that would probably get a more of a mature rating for a comic book. And there's this stuff with this cat and this flashbacky kind of scene. It's pretty brutal just seeing a lady murder a cat like that. And like she gets attacked by it too. The blood's pretty striking. And it keeps going, man. It gets pretty brutal. I love these covers, by the way. I love the scene where they do Charlie Brown, but with the Vision's powers. And I really like this conversation between Vin and Viv as they discuss the nature of trust. I will do it again reluctantly, but it will have the same result. Your problem, Viv, is that you do not trust. This is the 7th time I am preparing this game, Vin. The ball has not moved. You have not kicked it. You have not earned my trust. That is not trust. That is prediction. Anyone can predict the future based on past events. This is mere pattern recognition, the lowest form of cognition. Trust is the ability to believe without evidence. It is an act of faith, the highest form of cognition. Understanding and embracing faith moves us closer to humanity. And he just phases through it. So he is very much a boy. He is very much a child at play. And it's fun to invert the Charlie Brown dynamic. But it's also commenting on the idea of trying to understand what it means to be human. There are these like really fascinating ass conversations in this that are just, they're so outsider looking in. Let's see here. This is after some neighbors bring cookies to the Vision's house. And this is a conversation between Vision and Virginia. They seemed kind, nice. It is proper to say they seemed nice. I disagree. Kind carries a much more positive attribution than nice. Nice is, in fact, often used ironically, and I was not being ironic. You misunderstand. It is the ironic aspect of nice that gives the statement its meaning, as kind is unironic. To seem kind is to imply the potential of not being kind or of being cruel. In contrast, nice, due to its ironic interpretation, has a more flexible connotation. As such, they seem nice has a proper meaning of they may be nice or they may not be nice. Then the phrasing is meaningless. Obviously, to assert as truth that which has no meaning is the core mission of humanity. Their mission is meaningless, and yet you insist in it become our mission. I do not insist. I recommend. Red asks, am I a robot? Because this is totally the kind of thoughts that go through my head all the time. Yeah, I mean, right? Like, it's such that outsider perspective, and that's what makes it creepy, is these are machines. I've had these thoughts. These are machines trying to understand and dissect and act as if they are people. And yet I have had thoughts about, why do we say this when it really doesn't mean anything? Or why do we act like this is such a noble thing to do? It's so juxtaposed, and it deals with prejudices, and just, it's fucking uncomfortable. Maybe this isn't a hot take. Maybe I'm just, I'm just too late to the party, but this is a horror book, guys. This, in my opinion, is a horror book. I don't want to read this whole speech. Y'all ever heard the Shakespeare, you know, if you prick us, do we not bleed? That whole thing. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why revenge? The villainy you teach me, I will execute. And it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. And that's just Vin's reaction hearing that. And then you get through this whole issue, and there's all this tension and scariness and creepiness, and you're left with Vin saying, "Mother, if you prick me, do I bleed?" That's creepy. That's scary to think about. It deals with questions of machine consciousness. And so, yeah, this is a horror book. That is my determination. And now I want Tom King to do more horror. Because this shit is unsettling. This shit is just frighteningly unsettling. And so as everything has gone horribly wrong for the Visions, we discussed this idea of, where's it at? Oh, no, wait, I was wrong. It was the last issue. P and NP, which is a logical problem for computers. So if you ask, I'll just summarize. If you ask a computer to solve a mathematical equation, it will use a shortcut that's in its programming to give you the immediate answer. It will not run every possible answer to find one that matches. That is a task which will take it forever. But if you ask it to solve a problem that does have an answer, but that it does not have a shortcut for, then the computer, no matter how advanced, will run every conceivable possible answer until it finds the right one. And this is a process that could take decades, if not centuries. And so now Vision has a task, which is to have a good life and raise a happy family. But now he is being surmounted by all these completely illogical things like prejudice. And he is not sure how to deal with them because he is a machine. His understandings of family and humanity come through observation but not experience. And so his solution to how to deal with the crisis his family is going through is to get them a dog. I mean, just look at this page. Look at Viv sitting there in literally a broken home. And then Vision brings in a dog. And suddenly everything is fixed. Wow, this is a dense ass book. that is just, man. There's a lot going on here that I'm not talking about because I only read it the one time. There's so much density to this, and it's frightening. Not in a gross out way, not in a I can't bear to turn the page kind of way. It's just unsettling. It's just creepy on a philosophical level. There's the quote. You know, I used to do this to my old like novels and stuff. Fuck it, I don't care about Scarlet Witch. Or frankly the advertisement on the back. Yeah, fuck it. I used to do this to my books in high school. This was my, I suppose, first foray into writing, into reviewing rather. And I've never really done it again since, but oh, don't I have like a metallic Sharpie? That'd probably be better for this. Sharpies. Who's got all the Sharpies? It's Ian. Can he find the one he needs? Fuck no. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I used to write in my quotes on, like, if I were the one that got to have a quote on the back of the book or whatever, I used to write that into my old books. Like when I was reading novels and stuff in high school, and I've never really done it since. I should take that up again. So let's see here. Just in case, I'm going to put that under. What was it that I said? Creepy on a philosophical level. Not sure how well it'll show up for y'all. You can kind of see it. So there we go. That is my quote for the fucking book right there. Oh. I think that'll do it for this week's episode of Comic Reviews, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, that's all I've got for you. See ya.